Hey, y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our fabulous podcast. This is officially it's the first, but it's kind of the second episode, but we are so excited for you to be here. I'm Peppermint.
And I'm Hugh. And not only is this officially our first, but it's also the last of the year. I'm really excited that we're closing out December with all y'all and some fabulous books.
I am so excited too. My gosh, it's been a wild year. And we have so much to get into. Later on in our conversation, we have a fabulous conversation with Carvel Wallace. Not Carvel. Hold on one second. We have a fabulous conversation coming up with the excellent Sacha Coward. And if you are watching this on YouTube, please make sure you click like and subscribe so that you can catch every single one of our conversations. And
if you're watching this on someone else's account and you're not part of our book club, it is time to get to Alstora and sign up.
Then shame on you. And I think that should be one of your New Year's resolutions. I mean, seriously.
It's about time.
So we have a fabulous book club. It's brand new, and we have so many things we want to cover. This will be sort of an opportunity for us to not only let everybody know in the queer community about some of the queer historically related authors and stories, but it's also a really great opportunity to sort of like highlight some of the books that might have been banned over the past year and could be banned in the future. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm saying that.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird year next year, but we have got some great books that we are going to share with you. Even if they're banned, you're going to get them through us. We've got Carvel Wallace, Another Word for Love, fabulous memoir coming up in January. We've got Josephine Baker, the fabulous singer, actor, spy, revolutionary. Her memoir, we're going to be talking about that in February. We've got one of your friends coming on the podcast, right? AJ West?
True. AJ West, his betrayal of Thomas True, which is all about, it's like a sexy queer murder mystery that takes place in a Molly house, a.k.a. a brothel, in London. It's fabulous.
And then we've got Bob the Drag Queen coming on
to do
Harriet Tubman live in concert.
I am so excited. It's going to be wild.
Oh, and
we have one of your friends, Vivian Blaxell.
Yes, worthy of the event about queer trans life in Australia in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So we've got a lot coming up this year. But before we get to next year, let's finish off this year. Peppermint, what have you been excited about this year?
This year, I mean, I've obviously been excited about this podcast. Honestly, it might sound kind of like, whatever, but we've been working on this for a while. And so I'm happy that it's finally out and launched and ready to go. It feels so good. I'm also really excited for, I'm excited for the year to end, and I'm really happy and grateful for the things that we've been able to do, that I've been able to be a part of and accomplish. I went to, speaking of queerness, I was on the steps of the Supreme Court leading a rally in support of trans rights, which were sadly being argued. The humanity of trans people, yet again, under question. But was there and was able to really witness sort of the joy of the queer community and specifically the trans community in this time that our rights are being questioned and taken away and under attack and scrutiny. And there was a really historic moment. The first ever transgender lawyer to lead an argument in front of the Supreme Court, Chase Strangio, who happens to be a friend of mine, was there, of course, inside the Supreme Court, and I was outside on the steps, just sending the love inside. And when Chase came out, we had a chance to listen to the arguments. Anybody that's interested at all, hopefully you are, you can find on YouTube the Supreme Court case, session that you can listen to. The recording of it, you can't watch it. They don't allow cameras in that courtroom. But Chase said that the energy was wonderful outside, and just seeing all the young queer folks, the young trans folks with their parents, that were there to advocate on behalf of their own families. Many of these parents, their rights are being questioned, and they're basically being told that you can't provide any type of gender-affirming care or love to your kids. And, that's obviously upsetting. So many families are being faced with the choice of having to, not provide this type of care and not acknowledge and support their child's gender expression, or moving out of state and moving to another state that does allow this type of care. There are 24 states in our country that have banned gender-affirming care, and so that's half the country.
What do you think is going to happen with the case? Do you have any sense? What do you think?
We're going to lose. We're going to lose. It's a conservative court. Anything that goes before this Supreme Court's unpredictable, but they're certainly not like very progressive right now. And so because of the people that are seated, the justices that are seated. And so as their justice there, really. And so we have to prepare for the worst, which means lose the case and then make sure that the other states don't follow suit, because generally what happens at the Supreme Court is a decision that they make about one state becomes precedent, and then everyone in the country is able to that kind of is applicable to other states in the country. And like we had with Roe v. Wade, it wasn't enshrined into law, but it was precedent that was set when they decided one court case, Roe v. Wade. And then
I hope, just like Roe v. Wade, everyone turns out if this case is lost. I mean, we need all of you who are listening to this in the streets protesting wherever you are, wherever you can be. If we lose this case, everyone needs to hear about it. So please, if you're not already following Pep, if you're not following Chase, if you're not following all the folks who are fighting for these rights, please, please, please stop what you're doing, hit like, hit follow, hit subscribe, and get ready to protest next year.
It's true. And that was, I don't want it to be doom and gloom. That was, I mean, it's obviously not good to have to do that. But one of the great things about, I guess, a silver lining is being able to see the community come out and rally the way that you're saying. So, that was that was just one of the big things I did, probably the biggest way to end the year for me. How about you, darling? What was a big moment for you this year so far?
It's funny you should say about the community coming out and rallying, because I think that's the biggest one for me. There's this new organization in New York City called the American LGBTQ Museum that just had a groundbreaking on their new 5,000 square foot exhibition space. It's going to be a museum for queer history all around the country that isn't going to be just like all of the other organizations that already exist, which are wonderful. We have incredible organizations out there. Invisible Histories, collecting histories of the queer South, and the San Francisco GLBT Museum collecting California and national histories. What the American LGBTQ Museum is going to do is connect with the New York Historical Society and become the premier presenting institution for these histories. So they're going to collect their own work, but mostly they're going to show what is already being done. This incredible queer history keeping that so many people have been doing for decades. And at the groundbreaking this December, they had elected officials, they had a statement from Pete Buttigieg, they had incredible writers and speakers like Saeed Jones, and it was amazing, an amazing event. And to have that happen at kind of one of the seats of power in the museum world, the Historical Society is like the oldest museum in New York, possibly in the country, and to see that happen there, that meant a lot. So it gave me a little feeling of hope for the year to come.
I love that. And this is it again. It's like one of those opportunities for our community to really come together and exercise, togetherness and expression. But also, we get a chance to see our community sort of flex wherever we are. And we've already made so much progress in so many different areas, historically and in the present, obviously. And so it is really great to be able to see us say, okay, show your hand wherever you are. And that is so much sort of a more wider impact than we may think in our own sort of everyday lives. We get to go out and see, we've made history. We've made some serious contributions, which is not new. And now
straight institutions have to recognize it. And that is so exciting to see.
I love that.
And support.
Recognize the queer moments. Speaking of queer moments, there's a brand new segment, and everything's brand new because it's a brand new podcast, that we would call the top 5 queer moments of the year. And we're going to do this every year for sure. And then Of course, when it's not the end of the year, we'll be talking about the five queer moments that we're looking forward to, or five queer things we did today. Mind your business. The point is, we got five queer moments. What is the first queer moment?
Whew. Okay, first one that I think a lot of y'all are excited about. I have not seen this yet myself, but Wicked. How is the community not turned out for Wicked? We're in the cast, we're in the writing, we're in the audiences, the YouTube videos, the audiences, the remix, the cast, the audience. It's queer from start
everywhere
to finish. And I gotta tell you,
and in the story, there's certainly a queer undertone that people are talking about with the story of anybody. Even if you haven't seen the movie, if you've seen any interviews or stuff, there's a huge sort of joke going around, sort of like a meme. It's a meme of itself now, where Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo or Glinda and Elphaba are like in a sort of like wild toward love affair, because they're like so touchy-feely and so sentimental in all their interviews.
And the author even said that the lesbian subtext is there on purpose. He wrote it in. And I gotta tell you, I didn't like the show, but Cynthia Erivo is an incredible... I have seen her sing on Broadway so many times. My partner worked backstage on one of the shows she worked on, so I got to see her repeatedly, and I would listen to her sing The Phone Book. I am so excited. There could not be enough screen time for Cynthia Erivo in this film. So that is one of my top 5 queer moments for this year. How about you?
I think we've had some wonderful coming outs to celebrate. There have been so many fabulous people, and we're not going to give you all their bios, but we'll just drop the names. We've had folks like Amber Ruffin and Nick Dumont, and Detox came out as trans. Yes. Amber came out as bisexual. Nick Dumont came out as queer. Grace Mons came out, and Sean Gunn. These are some wonderful folks that, they've already been a part of the community, and these are well-known people. It is in so many industries and so many places where there is a pushback against queer or LGBTQ identity stories, things like that. It's great to see more and more every single face that comes out and sort of reaffirms their connection to the queer community is always great. So congratulations. Welcome officially to the party. And we're happy to have you in the fight, y'all.
Yeah, we are everywhere, and now we're a few more places too. I love it. And speaking of being everywhere, another top moment for me this year were the queer memes. I think there are so many queer people out there as creators, as content producers who are doing stuff that is changing culture that doesn't get recognized because we don't have an Emmy for memes, and we don't have, a Tony Award for Best YouTube. But I want to call out Jules LeBron for her very demure, very mindful meme that changed the world overnight. It felt like I went from having no idea what demure even was exactly to seeing everyone be demure and mindful. And so, Jules, you did it.
Oh, I love that. This year was also a record-setting year for the most LGBTQ candidates voted into office ever. There are 1,000 candidates, 500 who made it in the past primary and then into the general election, with about 80% winning their races, including my former state senator of Delaware, Sarah McBride, who's now the first ever out trans woman to be elected to Congress. She is a representative for the first state of Delaware, and I think that's so fantastic. And she will be using whatever restroom she wants. Hello,
yes,
Nancy, obsessed with bathrooms mace. Who's another person that we're celebrating?
I'm super excited that Tammy Baldwin remains in the Senate. She has been our out lesbian senator for so long, and now she's the last out queer person in the Senate, because LaFonza Butler and what's that horrible one, Kristen Sinema, they're out now. So she's the last one, and it's exciting to see her still there. We just have so many great candidates, so many great elected queer officials, and more of them every year. The last moment, though, that I think we need to talk about from this year, and I think you and I can both agree that this is obviously the most important moment in queer history of this year, the one that everyone at home is thinking about, which is the launch of our podcast. It has been so much fun, Pep, to do this with you, and it has been wild, and it has been exciting, and like you said, it's been a long time coming, and we have been working on this, and we actually have somebody waiting, sitting in our little green room right now to talk to us, the author of our next book club selection, Sacha Coward, who wrote Queer as Folklore, is going to join us in about 2 minutes. And I just want to say, before we get started, that I am so excited for this book, so excited for the history that he had to share with us. And I had a couple of favorite quotes from the book that I thought we might share with our readers. Do you have anyone that you would like to share?
Why don't you share both of them? There's several, but I'm having trouble accessing the ones that I could. So you go ahead, baby. It's a live show. I sent mine to you, so you read them both.
Okay, so this was your selection, which I agree is a fabulous quote. And Sacha, if you're listening in the green room, we'll be asking you about this one. History is the account of events as recorded by those in power. But folklore is the story of the common people. Their hopes and dreams are their desires and fears, passed from mouth to mouth, often in defiance of those in authority for generations. Bam!
Mm-hmm. And truer words have never been spoken. I mean, that speaks to me, and it really exemplifies some kind of the reason why I wanted to do this podcast, the reason why I do so many of the things that I do. And so that resonates so much, and it's like it really sets the tone for the book, I think.
I agree, and it really sets the tone for our podcast, because I think of what we're doing is the stories of the common people. That's what podcasts are, that's what social media is, and maybe that's what folklore is too, it turns out. So my favorite quote was a little bit less thoughtful, mindful, and demure. I gotta be honest, I love the fucking Little Mermaid. I love the Little Mermaid. I have always loved the Little Mermaid. And getting to hear some of the backstory of it was so exciting. And so this is a little bit about what Sacha wrote about the original Little Mermaid, the Hans Christian Andersen story, which was about unrequited bisexual love. So Sacha wrote, in Andersen's original story, the nameless mermaid must have her tongue cut out with scissors by the sea witch. Every step the mermaid takes with her feet is like walking on broken glass, and the mermaid does not get her prince in the end. That's not the story I fell in love with, but it is still a very queer story. And so with that, we're going to invite Sacha Coward onto the podcast. Sacha, please join us.
Hello,
welcome, Sacha. Hi.
Hello.
Just give me a moment to say, and I'll get it out the way. I'm so delighted to be here. This is so wonderful and exciting. So I'm just going to puke joy at you for a second, and then we can get on with the conversation.
Yum, 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 yum.
Oh,
We'll
it's an
lap it up.
honor.
Lick it up, baby. Lick it up. Anybody know that? Anybody know that? Anybody know that?
Heathers, of course.
Hello. Okay, just making sure.
I invite you to a Riverdale party, and this is how you repay me? Vomit.
I love that. We have to talk about that. Okay, the next time. So I have the very first question that I'm going to ask you just off the bat. Say hello to our audience and tell us, who are you and what do you do?
Hello, my name is Sacha Coward, and I am a historian and museum worker. So you were talking about museums earlier, and I was getting really excited because queer museums, that's just so fantastic to hear about. But I've been working in museums for about 15 years, and my passion is in folklore and mythology and storytelling. So if you're hearing folklore a lot and you're like, what does that mean? Folk and lore, it's the stories that people tell. It's very simple in that sense, except when you study it, it gets very complicated. But that's my obsession, and that's what I've poured into the book.
So it's not Folklore, the Taylor Swift album. I thought you were a professor of Taylor Swift. I've got to rearrange all these questions. I am so sorry. While I do that really quickly, if you could tell us a little bit about your book, Queer as Folklore. Again, nothing to do with Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I know. I was
What
furious.
made you write this?
She stole my name off me. Can you believe it?
I hear her next, her counter identity is going to be Sacha Coward. You know,
I'm
like
furious.
Beyonce, Sasha
We're suing.
Fierce.
I'm getting my people to talk to her people. So Queer as Folklore, it did start out as like a joke. So there's a phrase, and it's an old English phrase that has become a TV series in America and the UK, which is Queer as Folk. Mm-hmm. So it started out as this idea of there's now as Queer as Folk, which is a kind of Yorkshire phrase that means, aren't people strange? That's the simplest meaning. Mm-hmm. And during lockdown, I was working on a few different projects, and I got asked by the Museum of London, because you might guess from the accent, I'm a Brit, and I got asked to do something for Halloween, about monsters. And I went on this crazy spiral that, to be honest, has been lurking in the background for a very long time, because I've been obsessed with mermaids since I can remember. And the end result was a set of very badly filmed videos under lockdown called Queer as Folklore. And then I got an agent, and then I had to go begging back to the museum and say, can I please use that title again, because it's very snazzy. And then it basically just became about 3 years of obsession over fairy tales, monsters, myths, legends, all that stuff we love, all the scary monsters under the bed, all the nightmares and dreams. What is the queer story behind that? And how are we so embedded in that? Like, we would not have The Little Mermaid if it wasn't for queer people. We would not have Count Dracula if it wasn't for queer people. And so I wanted to try and reclaim that space. So that's what the book is trying to do.
But more than that, you make this point, which we read in the beginning, if you may have heard, where you talk in the introduction about what folklore is, like kind of on a deeper level than just like this story or that story. And you say, history is the account of events as recorded by those in power, but folklore is the story of the common people. And that really struck us, right? Like the stories of the common people. And we were wondering, what's that today, right? If folklore is the stories of common people 1,000 years ago, where are the folklores? Where are the stories? What is now?
Yeah. So I don't want to do an Ursula and steal anyone's voice, because that little segment in the intro, I know, was written by Jo Harris. So she's the author of Chocolat. She's an incredible queer woman, fantastic ally for trans people. And I asked her just to write the introductory slot. So that's her beautiful words in my book. So I'm going to give Jo Harris, incredible author, a moment to shine there. But
we love you, Jo.
Oh my god, she's gonna love that. So the idea though that folklore is this kind of more earthy. It's less vetted. It's had to go through less filters to get, because it can be anyone. It doesn't need to be someone with a PhD. So today, I would argue, for better or for worse, like, our folklore is the internet. It isn't just the internet, but the videos, the memes, like, that's the closest I can get to contemporary folklore. It's like this idea of a story that's funny on, Instagram, takes off, and for like 5 days, it's all everyone's talking about. But it's not enshrined in a hardback book. It's not in the British Library. Maybe there are some PhD people studying it, but generally it's overlooked. But it tells you something about people. It tells you about the things we love, the things we find funny, the things we're scared of. So I hope someone is doing a really good job at archiving memes, because one day, in 100 years, they're going to be seen as like the Arabian Nights or Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales as a way to understand who we were in the 21st century. That's my theory anyway.
That this is all about the stories of the common people. And so it's been really great to get to explore those a little bit with you, Sacha. I think that you have a really great view on all of this stuff that takes what we have inherited and turns it into, shows us the queer history from it. And that's so much of what I hope we do with this podcast. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure.
We have one more question for you.
Oh.
Yeah. What's next?
Go ahead.
So I can't say exactly, but I'm gonna hint at it. I am looking to write a kind of a version of Queer as Folklore that would be for young people, and we may have someone interested. So it looks like it is going to happen. So the working title is Monsters in the Closet. I love that. I won't lie. I'm nervous because it's.
Oh well, say less.
Yeah,
I already know why.
It's in America first, and we were talking about book burnings, so it's going to be some good fire fuel. It's exactly the kind of book that will upset probably all the right people, but I hope that it reaches. I've got some ideas. I'm very excited about it, because I wrote this book for my younger self. So this feels like a direct response to actually be able to go to young queer people who are probably pretty frightened right now. It's just a book. It's not going to change the world. It's not going to get them HRT. It's not going to change politicians' minds. But it might let them know that the stories they love are connected to them and that they have power there. And that was
already. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's giving them a place in the world. I love that. I love this. Thank you, Sacha. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It's been fantastic to have you on here. Everybody must go over to allstore.com immediately. And if you are not already a member, join our book club. And then you will get access to, obviously you're watching this interview, you will get Sacha's fabulous book. We really are looking forward to Monsters in the Closet. I will preliminarily be putting that on this book club's list. And then...
and if you are listening and you've got a monster that you want to make sure shows up in that book, drop it in the comments. Let us know what has to be covered. What monster were you obsessed with as a kid?
Thank you so much, Sacha, again. Everyone, we want to, as we end the year, just let you know that just, after the end of the year, we know that it was a tough time. We know that there have been so many attacks on the queer community. But if you are queer or queer supportive and ally, one of the things that you can do that will be potentially helpful to others around you is share about this book club. Let everybody know that this queer book club exists, Queer History Book Club exists. And please, just help us spread the word. We're trying to get the word out for 2025 and get more people involved. Like we said, we teased at the top of the show, we have so many fabulous people that we are looking for, books and authors that we're looking forward to highlighting. And we want to do that in partnership with you. And if there's also some books or authors that have a historical connection that you want us to take a look at and consider for the book club, let us know. If somebody you've already read, let us know, or something that you're interested in reading together with us. There are some new features of the book club that will be rolling out in the new year, some that'll give you even more access, but for now, we're just happy to have you with us.
Yeah, and if you've already gotten your version, your copy of Carvel Wallace's Another Name for Love, take some photos, show us, share it. It's a great book. It made me cry multiple times. I'm so excited to talk about it soon. See you all in 2025.
That's right. Thank you all, everybody. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so that you can get notifications on when our next interview comes out and our next podcast comes out. But for the meantime, Happy New Year, and thank you all so much. Peace.
Mwah.